Okay, today we're going to be learning about how to use the preterite and the imperfect. So the preterite and the imperfect are both past tenses, and they both translate the same exact way. But there are certain times when you use the preterite, and there are certain times when you use the imperfect. So how are the preterite and imperfect used differently when talking about the past? Okay, the preterite is used for completed actions. Those are actions that have a specific beginning or an ending. They're used for a series of actions. First I did this, then I did this, then I did this. And they're used to interrupt an ongoing action. So like the ongoing action would be in the imperfect tense, and then the interruption would be in the preterite tense. So for example, I was walking the dog when I got hit by a car. So I was walking the dog is the imperfect. That's the ongoing action. And then getting hit by the car is the preterite. That's the one-time action. It interrupts the ongoing action. So here are some words that will trigger the use of the preterite. So if you see these words, you can think, I probably need the preterite. Ayer, anoche, anteayer, el año pasado, la semana pasada, entonces, de repente, which means suddenly, por fin, un día, una noche, una vez, cuando, when, and finalmente. Before I post this to Classroom, I will add the English translations for each of these in case you don't know it. The imperfect. When do you use the imperfect? We use the imperfect if there's no specific beginning or ending. So like, I used to walk the dog. We don't know when that happened. We don't know if it's over, or I was walking the dog. We don't know. That sounds ongoing. It's used for description. So like when you're telling a story, the next thing I'm probably gonna assign you is like a shortened version of the fairy tale that you would have to write. So if you're telling a story, then you would use the imperfect tense and the description part. Whenever you're talking about age, use the imperfect in the past tense. Time in the past tense, you'd use the imperfect. Weather in the past tense, that's hacía buen tiempo, hacía mal tiempo. Things that are going on at the same time. If things are going on at the same time, you'll use the word mientras, usually. Mientras, which is like meanwhile. Now that's usually, you might see that word, mientras. Then another thing is repeated and habitual actions, so things that happened over and over again repeatedly in the past, and an ongoing action that is being interrupted. That's what I talked about before. Like I was walking the dog when suddenly I got hit by a car. The I was walking the dog part is in the imperfect. Here's some trigger words. Siempre, cada, todos los días, mientras, a menudo, a veces, frecuentemente, generalmente, normalmente, constantemente, and por lo general. So here's some examples of the preterite and the imperfect together. You can apply both tenses to talk about two overlapping events. So the preterite for the action that occurred and the imperfect for the action that was going on at the time. So when the war ended, cuando la guerra terminó, Santa Ana era presidente de Mexico. Santa Ana was president of Mexico. This is going on at the time when this happened, okay? So this is what's going on and when this happened. Also, this is like a description. Anytime you're giving background information or a description, you're going to use the imperfect tense. Here's an image. There's no perfect way to teach the preterite versus imperfect. It sounds simple until you start to apply it in actual like writing. So this image can help. They use Simba cheated. The Simba part is for the preterite. So a single action, the interruption, the main event, the beginning action, the arrivals and departures, okay? And the cheated is for the imperfect. It's for characteristics and description. So like when you write your fairy tale, when you're describing the characters, you're gonna be using the imperfect tense. Health, emotion, age, time, endless activities, and date. Okay, here's another thing for preterite versus imperfect. The preterite is in red, the imperfect is in green. You use for single past events or a specific moment in time. Use for a list of sequential actions. So first this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened, then this happened. So sequential actions. First I went to the store, then I bought a hamburger, then I ate the hamburger. Okay, that's all preterite. Used for actions that interrupt ongoing actions. So I was walking to the store when I fell. So the I fell part is the preterite. Okay, the I was walking to the store part is the imperfect. Used for verbs referring to senses: hands, feet, eyes, ear, nose, and mouth. So I saw, I touched, I smelled, I heard, I said. Those are all usually imperfect. I yelled, I exclaimed, imperfect. I'm making notes.
Can I be on it?
Well, your voice is on it.
Can I be in the next?
Okay, the next thing is imperfect. Action. It's in progress. I think you're breaking the 6-foot rule again. Okay, now you went away. Action in progress in the past was running, repeated habitual actions, interrupted actions. So I was walking down the street when I got hit by a car. The I was walking part is the imperfect. The getting hit by a car is the preterite. Go away. Yes, that's a good example. I was teaching a lesson when suddenly people entered my classroom, right? So the I was teaching the lesson is the imperfect tense. When suddenly people entered the classroom is the preterite tense. Telling what the time, weather, or age was, and descriptions of physical and mental state. So I was sad. That's like emotions, right? I was sad. I was happy. Those are all usually part of the background information describing that sort of stuff. This is saying the same thing. If something is going on, you're going to use the imperfect. It's just different images to say the same thing. Now, this is not saying the same thing. This is new information. So sometimes, depending on what tense you use, the imperfect or the preterite, it actually changes the meaning of the word. This is for verbs like saber. So if I use saber in the imperfect tense, it means I know. But if I use it in the preterite tense, it's I found out. So if I said sabía la verdad, it's I knew the truth. But if I say supe la verdad, it's I found out the truth. And those totally different context. So you want to make sure you use it properly. Conocer is to know in the past, so but know people, of course. So conocía a Juan, I knew Juan. But if I said conocí a Juan, that is I met Juan for the first time. So if I use it in the preterite, that means I met him for the first time. The difference in poder is a little bit more subtle. So podía hacer la tarea. I was able to do the homework. Pudo hacer la tarea. I succeeded at doing the homework. I feel like those, if you mix them up, the meaning is so similar that it doesn't make a huge difference. Same thing with querer. Well, actually not the same thing with querer. Actually, those ones are a little bit different because it's think of to attempt as like to try. So usually querer in the past tense is in the imperfect. So quería, because you want to say I wanted, right? Quería agua, I wanted water. Quería trabajar, I wanted to work. But if you say quise trabajar, that means I tried to work, I attempted to work. But there's some sort of implication of not being able to, like failing at it. Like you tried to, but you weren't able to. And tener used to have and to receive. So yo tenía $8. Almost always you're going to use tener in the imperfect tense, in the past tense. I had $8. Tuve $8. I received $8. It's definitely you use tener more in the imperfect tense in the past. So this is just an image saying the same thing. It's colorful so that when you look at it, maybe it looks more clear to you. And this is your exit ticket. There's 2 pages of it. That is going to be your first assignment, the exit ticket. I'll do, I guess, number 1 with you, maybe. Let's see if I can. Nope, I don't think it'll let me write on it. So, well, I can do it out loud. So, el héroe mirar is the first option. Por la ventana cuando el ejército llegar is the second option. So the hero was looking out the window when the army arrived. So, or it could be the hero looked out the window when the army arrived. So, it doesn't matter really how you translate in English. What matters is you need to choose between the preterite and imperfect. And if you look, one thing is happening and another thing interrupts it. And I know something else is interrupting it because of the word cuando, when. So what was happening when the army arrived, well, the hero was looking out the window. So this is in the imperfect. El héroe miraba por la ventana cuando el ejército, and when the army arrived, that's the preterite, llegó. El héroe miraba por la ventana cuando el ejército llegó. You're going to use these notes to complete the other 5 of these.